Welcome back to the Aguilar podcast. We are so excited today to have bassist, producer, songwriter, and so much more. She's a solo artist in her own right, as well as currently laying down the low end for Chappell Roan, all made up. How are you?
I'm so good. How are you?
You've had quite the week of travel, I heard.
It's been a busy week, yeah.
Well, it's been a busy summer.
It's been a busy summer, yeah. Back in New York City. Can't
Very
complain.
cool. I'm so glad you had GovBall and the VMAs, and we tried to link up, and we have you here.
I know, we failed many times, but we made it.
No, we were just laying the groundwork.
Okay, yes.
So how was Europe?
Europe was fun. Yeah, we had a great time over there. We did 3 nights at Brixton Academy, which is kind of like iconic.
In London, right?
Yeah. It's
Cool.
a like old London venue, and it just reopened. It was closed for a few years. So we did that, and we did a arena headline in Berlin.
Oh, cool.
It was her first arena headline. And where else did we play? Other places.
Yeah. Well, I can imagine it's been a blur.
Yeah.
But that's so exciting.
Yeah.
Was it your first time going into another country with this band?
With her, yes.
With Chappell, yeah?
Yeah, well, not another. It was the first time going to Europe. We've played in Canada.
Oh, cool.
But which is definitely another
counts?
country. That counts as another country.
Very cool.
Yeah.
And now you hitting a couple festivals.
Got a couple festivals.
And yeah, so
Gonna make our way back west.
Now, all right, before we get in, so there's a bunch of things I want to cover today.
Cool.
You've been touring with Chappell. Mm-hmm. You released your own full-length album.
Yep.
You have been releasing singles. You released a single this week.
I did, yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
And then video content, and you're a great follow.
Oh, thank you.
But so like before all the touring and the bass playing, you grew up in Southern California, correct?
I did, yeah.
And did you study with Carol Kay?
I did.
Can you elaborate on that?
Sure. Yeah, just reached out to Carol, and she liked mentoring women, and that didn't happen very often. She invited me up, and I just started hanging out with her for a few years. Go to her house on Saturdays, and I would just be there for 3 or 4 hours, hanging out.
Were you playing straight ahead or pop or everything?
She has her own method of teaching, so it was a lot of that. But honestly, most of it was just hanging out, truly hanging out.
That's amazing.
Giving me life tips and telling me not to play scales. That was the main thing.
Were you playing all bass, or did she have you playing guitar
all bass,
as well?
yeah. She would play guitar in our lessons.
Yeah.
It feels forever ago now.
That's so
kind of
cool.
was. It was my junior year of high school, and then through college.
Were you a big fan of Beach Boys or Sonny and Cher, any of the things that she's acclaimed for?
In theory.
Yeah, right.
I grew up playing in punk and hardcore bands. That was my world.
That's awesome.
And then again, my parents were working musicians, so
Yeah.
I played viola, and I was in I went to an arts high school.
Why did you do that to yourself?
I know.
Viola's brutal.
I know, it's brutal. I played in a symphony, and so I had this kind of just eclectic thing, but the scene was definitely my place.
Yeah.
And I only was really humoring my parents, taking actual lessons, and I think I walked into a Carol lesson with a 5-string bass, and she was like, the fuck is that?
That is so funny.
Get that out of here.
That is so funny.
But I know I definitely play a lot like her. People say that to me all the time.
Well,
and in now, of course, I listen to all the things she's done regularly.
Yeah.
So.
Well, it's funny. There is kind of a 60s flair to the way you play and your original music.
Yeah.
And I hear that in there, but
cool.
I wouldn't have said because you're not doing a mute and a pick and reverb, and it's not well, at least that that's not what I hear all the time.
Fair, yeah.
But she has a very distinct sound.
Yeah, she does.
But it's cool because the vibe and the energy, it makes sense.
I think it's just I try to play less always. That's the main thing that I took away from her. Is just play whatever is less, do half of that.
Have intention with the notes you choose.
With every single note.
And do you find that is also going into your writing and your key bass playing, and it's a musical decision, not just a bass guitar decision?
Yeah, kind of. Just I think the intentionality behind where you put things and why. For sure, that's something I think about
That's fantastic.
I'm not like a super, like, I never found, like, again, like playing in bands and like punk metal bands, whatever. Like,
yeah.
I've never found like my voice through playing. Like, I guess they're like, I don't know how to say this. Like, there weren't like examples of like what I wanted to do musically. Like Thundercat, like, wasn't a thing. Yeah.
Right.
You know, right?
Right.
Or like, and like the only people making like bass music were like,
Victor Wu and
or
Jocko
like metal bands like Spectre artist Dan Briggs, Between the Buried and Me, like love Dan, shout out to Dan Briggs, but like there were, or like Evan Brewer from this band called Animosity, like those were like kind of like the bass people, or like Hadrian Farrow, like, but there wasn't anybody like making like, you know, pop music.
Sure.
And I was like I don't know how I fit into this like world, because I like playing bass.
Right.
But I couldn't like access my voice.
Did you feel like it was a blockade, or that it was an open road that you just had to start going down?
No, I definitely felt it was a blockade.
That's so interesting.
For sure. Especially like in music academia, where like you're like, okay, like here's how High the Moon, like learn it in 12 keys. Well, like this is your voice.
So you are a studied bass player, and you studied upright.
Yeah.
How do you feel like that has played into your touring life, your session life, your writing?
I mean, before I started touring, like upright was like more than half of my income. Like, I'm so grateful I learned upright.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. It's like there's not a lot of people that do it. Now I like really, again, try not to. Like, I just like don't play it enough, and it's such like a body intensive instrument that unless you're doing it all the time. Yeah, I like cry when I play for an hour now. You know?
Oh, like, I forget. So I went from French to German, and I still never committed. So I can't do either well, because I'm always like practicing, getting out the samandal, and it's like, oh no, I still don't know how to do this.
Dude, yeah, I don't know. Like I still don't get that. I just French bow.
We have to turn the bass as you go.
That's
upright's
crazy.
awesome, but it's a lot of work.
Too much work. Yeah, that's crazy. It's like the elbow up, and you get the weird side cramp, and you're just like, and your body ends up like all crooked. Like 30 years later.
I went back to school and got a teaching cert, and I had a teacher who played orchestral upright, and his body.
That's what I'm saying.
He permanently leaned.
Yeah. Like, I'm not sacrificing that.
Now it's interesting. I was like listening to. I just watched your Lollapalooza set.
Cool.
You double a lot on key bass.
Yeah.
And I feel like when we're at the same age, when we were growing up, doublers were electric and upright. Mm-hmm. And you saw it a lot in bands, the Decemberists and Mumford & Sons and whatever. You saw a lot of upright and electric.
Totally.
But I feel like this day and age, a doubler is electric and key bass.
For sure.
Like key bass is like, is it an essential if that's the world you want to be in?
No.
Okay.
I don't think so. I like programming the sounds.
Yeah.
Is it essential? Like, I don't know. Like, it might be more essential that like you need to take a sip of water in that part of a transition or something, you know?
That's so interesting.
With like live shows, like it just like depends on the context, I think.
That's amazing. That's really cool. So like looking at like a gig like the Chappell Roan gig, for instance, like you guys are like a 3-piece rock band.
Yes.
It feels like she's like fronting Green Day.
Yeah.
But then you listen to the record and it's lush and there's a lot of synths and things. So like, did you get to kind of have the live version, or are you just playing as close to that record as you can?
Well, the MD, Heather Baker, is a wizard. Straight up wizard.
Respect.
And she's very creative. I love working with her. She gives a lot of like flexibility to like design sounds. I have this crazy bass rig on this tour that's just like probably, I mean, it's like, it's wild. It's like a 90s arena bass rig, you know? And like, that's like the vibe. It's like, bring your personality, bring the sounds.
Yeah.
But like also play the part.
That's so cool.
So I've tried to be like, I love the record and like all the sounds are incredible. So I've tried to like really like honor that in like the way I program things.
Yeah.
And like I have 5 basses.
I was gonna say you have a stable.
Yeah, I have a stable. And yeah, I like each one, like I feel like it's important because it's just like because the record is so like bass heavy too.
Yeah.
And like, forward, like, I don't know, like I know most of the audience like wouldn't be able to tell like the hollow body from like a Mustang, but like I hear it.
Oh, I definitely. I mean,
it's like definitely for me.
When you went from like that concert specifically I was watching, you played the 5-string jazz. That's what you came out with, and it was like huge. But then you pull out the Mustang with the mute.
Yeah.
And it was like the whole sound changed.
Yeah, totally.
So I feel like if you're someone that's like, it's probably something more when you're out there in the audience you feel. You feel that there was a shift in that low end.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, yes.
But it isn't like when you are in an orchestra pit and it's like Fender bass and then you turn it. It's like Hofner. Like you got to kind of choose what those sounds were for the song.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah, I mean, like, I just, like, listened to the stems and was like, okay, I got to get as close to this with, like, what I have. Like, there's a million different ways you could get, like, a chorusy bass sound. I don't know how he did it, but I'm just going to try and get as close to that as I can, That's
fantastic.
Yeah.
Now, like, we were talking about your 60s vibe on the bass. What about when you played with Mayer Hawthorne? What a bass dream gig.
Yes.
So what was that experience like? How'd you meet him? And, like...
How did I meet Drew?
Yeah.
Well, I feel like I'm really lucky with the people that I get to work with because they're all like so like intention driven artists. Like they really know what they want. They have high expectations. They're super creative and they really like give a shit. Yeah. Like I feel like all of the people I've ever worked with, like that's what they have in common. And I know that's not everybody's experience. So I feel like very lucky.
Yeah.
I met Mayer through a friend. They shared like management. He was looking for a bass player and it was a long time ago now. And he's a bass player.
Yeah.
And so like initially like I was getting shredded in rehearsals. Like it was like hammer on there. Like, it was like, oh, okay.
It was a learning on the gig type of gig.
He was like, no, slide into that. It's like very specific. And then he like was like, can you sing this part? I was like, no, like I can't do that.
While you're doing it?
Yeah, I can't do that. And he's like, yeah, you can.
That's
and like
awesome.
now, like 6 years later, whatever, like I sing the whole show.
Yeah.
Play the whole show.
Yeah.
And I just know like before I get in the room with him, like I'm like micro analyzing every single little thing on the track. And he's incredible. I'm very grateful. And like also like I can like sing and play really well, like kind of because he forced me to do it. Well, forced is harsh. He encouraged.
It's what the gig called for.
Yeah, totally.
It's like his music especially is so bassline driven.
Totally.
Like it's like, if you played the drum, I don't want to like, maybe not, but I feel like some of those songs like with the drums, you could probably alter it a little and it wouldn't change the core of the song. Not so much with the bass lines. Those bass lines are like, everything's built on them.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's like because he's a bass player.
Yeah.
And that's how he like writes too.
Yeah.
And it's great.
Well, what about when you write, because you have your own solo career, you have a record that just came out, you just released a single. When you write, are you writing on the bass? Are you writing in a DAW, writing on your piano?
I think just because I have like recorded for people for so long, like when you're tracking for people, like you usually like a song exists already.
Yeah.
And this is another Carol thing that like is like ingrained in my head since like childhood is like to support the vocal melody and like never, like play over it. Or like Whit at Berkeley had me like learn like to sing the melody and just play like root motions. So like I think because I'm like a bass player and like have recorded on so many things, like when I'm writing, like bass is actually like the last thing I do.
That's so
like,
interesting.
I record it last.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, okay, like how is it gonna fit in?
Do you have an idea of what you want to do, or does it almost develop as you're going?
No, I usually like know what I want to do. Like if there's like a lot of synth parts or something, like sometimes it's really cool if you take like a like Jupiter, like Juno sound and you like double it with like a fuzzy bass, like like that kind of vibe. Like I usually have a pretty clear idea of like what's gonna happen. I just like wait to do it. Yeah. Or I like put in like a shitty demo bass and then I get annoyed that it sounds not how I want it to.
Do you ever have demo love where you're just like, oh, I'll fix this later, and then after you listen for a couple weeks, you're like, it's kind of awesome?
No.
Good. That's good.
I'm usually like, I can't wait for this to be better.
That's awesome.
This needs work.
That's so funny. Now, last year, you were playing for Weyes Blood, and you guys did the Beck Phoenix tour.
We did.
What was that like?
So sick.
Yeah, I can imagine.
It was incredible. Like, just like watching icons every night.
Yeah.
I remember like the first time watching Phoenix play like Listomania.
Oh, I know.
I was like in Dallas. It was 110 degrees or something. I'm like dripping sweat. I'm like, this is the coolest shit I've ever seen in my life.
They're
like, they're
incredible.
so good.
Yeah, I know.
And like, obviously, like having like Joey Wernicker and like JMJ like on the tour. Like,
I was
that's,
gonna
like,
ask. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like it's insane. It's like what dreams are made of for sure.
No, I feel like it's funny like, listening to you play with artists, but then also doing your own music. You're very much a chameleon player, it seems. Like you can create all these different sounds, all these different vibes. It reminds me of like a JMJ. It's like I'm gonna do a punk thing, and I'm gonna do a
like,
'60s thing.
It's definitely a role model.
Yeah?
Can't hide that.
No, I mean I think for most bass players,
Yeah, totally.
And it's not always for the same reason. And that's probably, I would imagine, what people would find in your bass playing is like, I love this element or this element because you don't have like a voice and that's the one direction that you're going.
Well, I feel like even if there's not like an immediate like musical like through line between like JP Sax and Weyes Blood and Mayer Hawthorne, like they're all like really great musicians, and like Weyes Blood, like her music is like oddly like similar in vibe to Mayer, even though it's like very different genres.
Yeah.
Like they have like the same, like they both love like 60s studios and like verby drums and like, you know, like a lot of the same taste.
Yeah.
And I think like JMJ is really cool because he's like always been just a creator.
Yeah, for
and
sure.
I think that's like the one thing that I like really look up to. It's like, yeah, like you could just be playing bass, like sure, which that's like fine.
Yeah.
But he like gives more.
So it's an interesting point that you just made there. Constantly creating.
Yeah.
You could have gotten these gigs and been like, my solo thing, I'll get back to it in 10 years. But you've been creating and releasing the whole time you've been supporting other artists.
Yeah.
Is that a personal goal, a very intentional, like, or is it just like, it's one of those things like, I have to get these songs out, I have to share them?
Yeah, I mean, I had some like personal experiences, like some deep like family stuff that I started dealing with, and like I had no intention of ever like making music. Like I had a band until the pandemic, and like I don't really think of it as like a solo project. Like I don't.
Sure.
But I just like wrote these songs, and I was like, I need to, like, this actually is a part of me.
Yeah.
And I think like going back to like the finding your voice.
Yeah.
I realized that like I like making things. And there's such a stigma against people, like especially, you know, in the musician world.
Sure.
And I, like, don't get it. Like, if I am hanging out with musicians and they don't make music, I'm confused.
Yeah.
I'm truly confused. Like, why don't you make music?
Yeah.
That's the whole point.
Yeah. No,
like, why don't you do that?
Well, it's funny. Like, working for a gear company, you meet people from brands who don't play. And I'm like, how'd you get here?
Yeah.
Why are you making guitars?
Right. I mean, yeah, if I'm hanging out with a like guitar player that like doesn't make stuff, I'm confused.
That's so
I'm
interesting.
truly confused. It bewilders me. And like hopefully you're proud of the things that you make and you want to share them with the world. Like I think there's more than enough room for everybody. And you can be in a support role, especially like the way that the business is now. Like there's a cycle, and like there are times you can be in a support role, and there are times where you can make things for yourself. And like it should be, I mean, we're seeing it more and more, but like that should be acceptable. Like, you know, St. Vincent, like producing Slater Kinney.
Yeah.
And like those, you know, writing with Olivia Rodrigo. Like there's space for all of this.
Yeah.
And like it should be more like discussed, I think.
Yeah. Well, do you think part of it is just the way that the record industry has changed? People are just, they have to stay busier. They have to be doing things other than just being in a studio making recordings all day.
No, No, because it's
Okay.
like always been a thing. Like if you think about like Motown Records, like
Yeah.
how many songs did Smokey Robinson write that like he didn't release under his own name?
That's a great
Like,
point. Yeah.
They were just always making music. Or like Kendrick Lamar, like he's always creating. Like
Yeah.
or James Blake, we were talking about him earlier. Like these are prolific people.
Yeah.
They're always like creating with people, like, you know, interesting collaborations. And like we look at them and they're like established and we're like, oh, cool, like Lil Yachty and James Blake record, insane.
Right.
But we're not like thinking about it at like the more like working class level.
Sure.
And or like people think it's a waste of their time, or like I'm not really sure what the psychology behind it is.
Yeah.
But like I want to see more just like weird art from people.
Well, that's
new stories.
like if you take this is my job and I'm trying to earn an income off it, and you go back to just like if you build it, they will come. Do you think it's almost like people should be making music, they should be sharing it, and that audience, there is an audience for what someone's doing?
I mean, if there's an audience or not.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, you don't have
That's a great
to.
point.
You don't have to like. You know, if you're not proud of something,
Yeah.
like keep it for yourself, or
Yeah.
like keep working on it until you are proud of it.
Yeah.
And then if you want to share it, like great. If you don't want to share it, like that's great too. Like you should first like I don't think anybody that does music like we like have to do it, you know?
Yeah.
So like.
Oh yeah.
But if you lose that like excitement, like actual like I love this shit.
Yeah.
I want to do this all the time. I'm psycho. I think about this like all
Yeah.
day, all night. Like I get home from tour and I'm like sick. I got 3 days of guitar tracking. Like
That's
insane.
fantastic.
Like I'm insane. You know?
Well, no. I mean, well, you know, it shows in your album just like the way you use your voice. There's layers and there's tension and release, and like you can tell that there's just such a deep level of production in what you've been creating, and that shows that you think about it all day and you're excited to record guitar, because especially with like the software we now have.
Yeah.
It's a lot of ways to just go like, okay, I take my voice and harmonize it, but you can tell you were in there recording your voice and making layers, and
Yeah.
so like that level of like creative energy is definitely reflective. Now, so the name of the record is can you remind me?
Yeah. I'm like, ooh. Just tell me what it's like up there.
Tell me what it's like up there. Yeah. And it's dedicated to your grandmother, correct?
Yeah.
Is that her on the voice memo?
Yeah.
In the middle? That's really
Yeah.
sweet. That's
And
cool.
I sampled a lot of the piano as her.
Oh, no
You asked
way.
me earlier if I played it.
Yeah.
I had like voice memos of her. She was a classical pianist.
That's so
and
cool.
so I like sampled it and pitched it, time stretched a lot of it. And
Wow.
like weaved it in.
That's so cool.
Yeah. She's
So-
a firecracker.
Do you think like when you're not on the road, do you think we'll see an all made up tour or some all made up shows?
You know, maybe.
Yeah.
But like I kind of feel like the music is for me.
Sure.
And the like the whole process, like again, like I love touring with other people. I
Yeah.
love producing for other people. I love writing with other people. Like my music is like for me.
Yeah.
And I like it's really hard for indie people to like have shows.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like near impossible right now. And so I kind of feel like there's not like really a point if there's not like an actual.
Or unless you have that itch if I have to get on stage.
And I did one this last summer and it was awesome. It was super fun.
Was that the one you just put up a clip from playing inside of a shop?
It was a skate shop. Yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah, it's like this legendary like punk venue in my hometown, Fullerton.
Is that whole gig gonna go up, or are you gonna put up in pieces, or?
I have like so much GoPro footage.
Yeah,
And
you should share it.
Yeah, I'm going to.
Yeah.
It's like it's so loud in there. like half of the time the GoPro is just distorting. I was like, yes, we're back.
How do you like? So like you played Gov Ball and you're doing the Statue of Liberty, and then you've got the at Lollapalooza you had the weightlifters, and how do you like that side of it, the costuming and the show?
It's incredible. It's just what we're talking about. It's like it's like, you know, an expression of like humanity and also like just art for the sake of art, which is like something like when I was like learning the music, like, you know, I'm fairly like girly, and I've always been girly, but like love y'all, but like, you know, growing up being like the only girl in the room, like, you know, a lot of us talk about like, okay, well, like nobody ever wears low cut shirts. Like female musicians are like, we're all such bros. Like we're like dudes, you know?
Well, I think part of that is you've been in VFWs and gigs with guys, or you're just like, I don't even want to deal with this.
Well, I think you just like, you know, I don't know, you're like, you just like want to hang.
Yeah.
And you want to be like part of the hang. And like for like, you know, like I love my guys like fire, but being able, like seeing like this, the femme, like personality, like really like highlighted is so cool. Like, and just like being like, okay, we got outfits, we got makeup. It's like, I've never been able to do that. It's always like kind of like not be less, but like, you know, just be professional, be all these things as like to be taken seriously as a woman. I'm like, okay, like I can wear makeup now? That's crazy.
Yeah, I mean,
amazing.
You guys look amazing. Like the whole show is just like
it's
such a vibe. It's such an energy.
It's really special, and I'm like very stoked to be a part of it.
Yeah.
And like, her vision is incredible.
That's so cool. And I mean, what is it like to be playing with an artist as they're on their like astronomical rise? Because she really is like a case of an artist that blew up.
I'm really happy for her.
Yeah.
That's
Absolutely.
And everybody. And I think like if somebody like there's, I've heard people say that like the longer you're in music, like the more you get to see your friends win.
Yeah.
There's like, you know, less people as you keep going in music. There's like, and now there's 5 of us. but like, you know, if one person wins, like the whole community wins.
Yeah.
Like it's what she's doing is like really special, and it's just gonna help other people win.
Yeah.
And that is incredible.
I mean, you look at what they say the Lollapalooza set was the largest attended
it was
daytime
crazy.
set ever for the festival.
Crazy.
And it was a sea of pink.
Yeah.
What did it feel like to look out at that? I mean, it must have been.
I was like, damn, that goes really far. Yeah. That's what I said.
I mean, you probably couldn't even see. It's like when the earth starts to turn.
Yeah, I don't usually get nervous. Like, bigger show, like, I get nervous when I'm playing for, like, 10 people.
Okay.
Like, when I have, like...
When you could see air between the people?
Yeah, when there's, like, my friend is staring at me in the eye, I'm like, oh, I'm never going to make it out of here, you know? Like, this is going to be the longest
That's
set.
so funny.
But, like, I was the first, like, I'm the far side of the stage, so I walk out first.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh boy, that's crazy.
It was like, even just like watching the stream, I was getting emotional. Like, this is such a like victorious set. It was amazing.
Yeah, it was like really fun. Also, like dressed as wrestlers, like you have no choice but to be like, all right, we're fucking this up.
I know. Her hair like blowing out of the back of the mask.
Yeah,
like, it was awesome.
Yeah.
So one of the things you were talking about, the way you got linked up was through your connections in Los Angeles. Mm-hmm. A lot of musicians think what they have to do is they have to go to New York, go to LA, and then it'll just figure itself out. If a bassist came to you, or any musician, and they wanted to move to LA, what would you recommend they do in that first year?
Just like go out every night. Like say yes to everything.
Yeah.
I think say yes to everything forever.
Even duo jazz gigs?
No, I quit that. No, I quit that. But, I mean, if that's what you want to do, like,
For sure.
But like,
For sure.
if, you know, it's like the rule of 3.
Yeah.
And like, then what, like, as long as you're like constantly learning.
Can you elaborate on what the rule of 3 is?
Oh yeah. It's like, you know, good hang, good pay, good music. Like,
Yeah.
It's gotta be 2 of 3 to do it.
Yeah.
So it could be like, good pay, good hang, bad music.
Sure.
You know, it could be.
We've all been there.
We've all been there. But I think just like never feeling like you've arrived.
Yeah.
And like in the first year, I don't know, like I'm from LA, but or like, you know, Southern California, but like it took me a really long time to find my people. LA can be a tough city. I mean, New York can be a tough city too.
Yeah.
But just like, you know, figuring out like the friends, like it's hard to meet people in LA. You're like not on the train. You gotta like know what nights are like the nights that resonate with you, and then like you gotta go enough times that you're not just like like hounding people,
Sure.
like punishing them,
Sure.
trying to meet them. And then like, yeah, just like wanting to learn, like if you went to school for like jazz, like there's not like a ton of jazz in LA. Like maybe like consider where,
There's not a lot of
consider
jazz
the
here
vibe.
anymore
Yeah, there's
either.
not a lot of jazz anywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. Which is like sad, but
Yeah.
it is what it is.
Well, it's interesting. Like you talk about going out, talking to people, but we also have this whole other side with social media. And you're a great follow. You have a lot of great content
you.
and you're sharing your music. How did that play into making a name for yourself?
I was like really hesitant to do like socials like this because I felt like I would be taken like less seriously. And so I like really pushed back at it. And then like seeing like there's a lot of people with a lot of followers that like can't do like what we do.
Yeah.
And like I'm super happy that people can build platforms and like this is like a positive thing, I think, that like people can share their art and their craft and like develop it in front of an audience. I think that's amazing. And I think that's like really a powerful part of just like where the world is today. But I was like, if I want to like release music in a meaningful way, like I actually do have to do that.
Yeah.
And I have to do it in a way that like is fun because I don't want to hate it.
So it's almost like talking about what you're doing, like in Chappell's band, being like the on paper pro isn't necessarily the right avenue. Like you're talking about like, like you have to wear a suit to play jazz. You actually have to have fun and like be like share with people.
Yeah. Like
in that
I
world.
want to like what I'm posting. Like so many of my friends and colleagues like hate that they have to post.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm having a great time.
Yeah.
Just like making this weird art project, guys. Like, I don't know.
That's great
it's
advice.
fun. I really like it.
Yeah.
And if it feels like, inauthentic or you're like doing a TikTok dance because you think that's going to get you followers or something, like, be like, I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
No way.
I mean, it's tough because you follow someone and you really like what they're doing, and then you see they get the little like paid blah blah blah, and you're like, oh, but
Sorry,
there are
so
plenty
guilty.
of people that learn how to do that.
Yeah.
Who learn how to integrate like Monster Energy drink or whatever into the thing that they're doing.
Yeah, totally.
And also power to them. That's
I'm not mad at that.
No, I think it's
like,
great.
If like somebody, a brand wants to like pay you to like share your art and creativity, like that's incredible. I don't think it's that different from like having a label in the 90s or something.
No, every hip hop video was a Coke ad.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I mean, like Elvis, like some people, I don't know, conspiracy, but some people say like Blue Hawaii was paid for by airlines. Like this is like as old as time.
Right. Yeah.
Like,
well,
and it's just like
business.
it's transparent now.
Yeah.
You can see that it's happening.
Yeah. No, I think it's giving the artist another avenue to just do what they're doing.
Yeah, totally. And if like, like everybody's got to like eat, like if, like, I think that's empowering, honestly. Like, I agree. Like, I hate the the sellout vibe. Like, oh, okay, like, great. Now we're getting like a skincare ad from you. Right. Okay.
Yeah. I know.
Sure.
But if it fits with what you're doing, you can make it part of, I mean, we're an instrument brand, and we're always thinking about branding and marketing and how people see what we're doing.
It's a big part of it, right?
Yeah.
And like you got to align yourself with people that you like believe in.
Yeah.
Which like you guys have supported me for years, and like I love y'all and your product and everything. But like I
will say it has been an honor to be a little part of your journey and see our little rig popping up at MSG and popping up at Golf Ball. Like it means a lot. Actually, a question I wanted to ask you. So many people are going in-ears. Mm-hmm. What's the role of your rig in your setup? Like, are you trying to get you feeling the bass, or are you trying to share with the drummer and the band? Like, what is the goal of your current Chappell setup?
With respect to ears?
Your ears, your rig, your guitars.
Well, I just like want things to sound really good. That's like my main objective. Ears, like, so crucial. Like it just brings the stage volume down so much, and like you like go see like a legacy act and it's like 140 dB in front of the PA or something because like they've got like monitors blasting on stage, and it's like I I couldn't play in a band like that.
Oh, I see
like,
club bands still doing that.
Yeah, I
with
mean,
wedges
at a club, like, it makes more sense.
Yeah.
Because, like, bringing in, like, an ears rig is, like, probably overkill for, like, like hotel cafe or something. I don't know. People do it, but, like they do it, but, like, like, ears are incredible.
Yeah, yeah.
I would, if somebody asked me to play, I might eat my words on this, but like if there was like a legacy band and it was like monitors, like stage monitors, I would really second guess it.
Really?
Like, it's so loud. Like I would like have a headache every night. Like I would have to really, maybe, I don't know. We'll see.
So when you get back into the LA hardcore scene, you're going to have a hardcore band with your...
Oh my God, can you imagine? I get canceled so fast.
empty stage, just drums and you guys.
Maybe Jordan will be in my in-ears hardcore band with playback.
That's funny. But yeah, so the rig is you're using it as a way of like gluing the band. You have it on stage, everyone can feel the bass, but it's not necessarily what you're listening to.
Well, I like having a cab. I don't necessarily like. I have a like a modeler also.
Sure.
Like my rig is like kind of complicated for Chappell, but like with Weyes Blood, I just use a Noble, Cali 76 compressor. I have a JHS fuzz and DB 750 and an 810. Or
awesome.
410.
Yeah.
And Mayer, kind of like the same thing, like super simple, like minimal, like tubes, just tubes.
Yeah.
But for Chappell, I just needed a lot more sounds.
Sure.
And so I've got this like really crazy like patch nightmare. I'm so sorry to my techs. Like they were like, "You want to do what?" And I was like, "Bear with me." Like, I want a clean bass sound. I want a mic cab. And I want the modeler. So
is there a line, or if they just said yes to everything? Were you like, we're gonna roll in a Hammond organ? Like, no, you're not.
I was real sneaky about it. I just did it like super gradually, so they didn't know they were like, they didn't know my plan. No, I'm joking.
Is this like your songwriting process where you know what the bass is going to make at the end and you just slowly work your way?
Come on, guys. No, it just kind of ended up like that because, we started building a rig for like a different size show. Sure. So I had the Fender Tone Master, and it sounds like so good. Like they did a great job with that.
Yeah.
And I had a few like actual pedals on my pedal board, and then I was like, oh, I think that we need a cab. Like I think we actually like need it for these size venues. Like as things started getting bigger, so then I was like, okay, well, we got to get a cab. And then trying to find the blend, I was like, I think we need a mic. And everybody was like, yeah, I think we can't just like have like, there's no, like sometimes the cab is just for me. Yeah. With ears, right? So I can feel it. That is a thing that happens. But yeah, no, this time it's like the three blend.
That's so cool.
Yeah. It's really fun. It sounds super good. But like occasionally, I'm like, how do we do this?
Well,
like this is crazy.
It feels almost like
multiple DIs.
But it feels like the modern way of making records, where people are using things in the box, they're using modelers, and then they're using analog gear, and they're using amps and things like you're doing that. Yeah. In the gig environment.
Yeah, totally. Yeah,
that's awesome.
And like I think back like. Their side stage amp situation was like so inspiring. It was like walking around like the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and like just like, oh my God, there's so many cabs back here and they're so loud. Like it's crazy. But like a few times, I think I can say this. I would just like stand by the cabs. I'm like, I just like want to hear like what these sound like. What are the sounds that are coming out of these cabs?
So
like,
cool.
Like hear like Loser playing or whatever, and like Jason Faulkner just like ripping, and I was like, what does it sound like? Or like, like JMJ had like this crazy Sun amp backstage, huge, and I was like, okay. I definitely learned a lot from that tour, just being like
sticking your head into cabinets.
Well, like also like I can do this.
Oh yeah.
Like. This is, all right, cool. Like, I can do that. Great. This is what this looks like at this level.
So do you think in the coming years there will be an entire bass like museum on the side of the stage where you're clicking between different amps.
I'm gonna be.
If we're doing a 60s song and I have
very
this,
expensive. Yeah, you'll need an entire semi truck for my amps, and I only use vintage mics.
And in Europe, everything's by ferry.
Yes.
So they're putting a whole boat for your amps.
Totally. Well, I've heard of like Nashville guys. Like, I don't know who this person is, just like the legend. Maybe you guys have heard of him too. Maybe he doesn't exist. Maybe he does. I don't know. But like this like bass player that had like an amp like on a road case on wheels and like had some sort of like thing around the wheels so there was no rattle with like a mic hanging in the cab, like exactly how he wanted it. And so, like, that's, like, I know, like, Carol, she just, like, walked in with, like, a Gallion Kruger, like, 10-inch speaker.
Yeah.
And, like, her Ibanez bass and was like, yeah, you're going to record that. And they were like, we're like, I don't know. Like, I'm making this up. We're at East West. Like, we have any amp. You know? It's like, no, you're going to record that.
Right. Well, it's probably a mix of vibe and comfort.
And like,
this is what the artist was comfortable with.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah, totally. Yeah.
Like, why would you be like, oh, well, no, this is what the studio is comfortable with, so you're going to completely hear something different.
Totally, yeah. But like, you know, figuring out like what you like and like also like if they want it to sound like you. Right. Which sometimes it doesn't matter. You know, sometimes we just like want, and that's also like producer brain. I'm like, okay, sometimes it like really doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Like but like other times I'm like, there's this one person that has to do this job.
Yeah.
Like there is nobody else that can do this job.
Right.
Other times it's like, oh, I can't wait to just like ask my friends if they're available.
Right.
And see who can do it. Because like any of them would crush this, you know?
Right. Well, it's like the Jamerson What's Going On story. No one could play that song. They had to go find him in town.
Oh, and they like wheeled him in,
yeah,
right? It's so crazy.
But like they just knew. They're like, there's only one human who gets this.
There's only one guy, and we're gonna. Yep, it's crazy.
So funny.
That's iconic.
Yeah. So I have a couple wrapping up questions for you.
Let's go.
What's a desert island album for you? Like, what's a record if you're Tom Hanks in Castaway and you've got one record to spin for the rest of your life?
Okay, it's gonna be a surprise.
Okay.
But Arctic Monkeys AM.
Really?
Yes.
That's so cool.
Yeah, that record fucking slaps.
Is it that it came to you at a certain time in life, or it's just start to finish, it's the record that you can just listen to?
It's just a great rock album.
Yeah, that's so cool.
And every time I put it on, I'm like, yes. I don't listen to it all the time.
Right.
It's probably not my favorite record.
Yeah.
But like,
that's the one.
it wins. Every time I put it on, it's like a great day.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
What's something you're listening to right now that people might not expect from you? What's like a sleeper that you can recommend to the audience?
I think it's a Ukrainian band.
Okay.
Called Soyuz, but it's like CO10. Like I don't even know how it's spelled. But they put out this incredible record that's like mostly instrumental. Cool. And it's got this like kind of 60s, like late 60s, early 70s, like vibey thing going on. It's beautiful. Tim Bernardes, Brazilian songwriter. Okay. And then this Portuguese songwriter, Bruno Pernadas. Like those records have been on repeat for a year for me. Oh, absolutely. They're just like, I'll check them out. Very cool. Good. Yeah. I guess like Bruno and Tim are both in Portuguese. When I have no idea what they're saying, you know, almost like, right. Yes. Yeah. Like, that's so cool. I don't even need to know. It's so beautiful.
And then I guess my last question is, alive or dead, if you could have one night on stage playing bass and singing for anyone, who would it be?
Well, I wouldn't like hurt Paul McCartney.
No.
At all.
Yeah.
I would want him there too.
Paul wants to play guitar and
I don't even need to play bass. You can give me an egg shaker, but like definitely the Beatles. You know?
That's
like,
awesome.
Nothing bad can happen to Paul.
Specifically Paul, though. Like, you wouldn't go back to the Beatles.
No, I want the Beatles. I'm just saying, like we must protect Paul.
I know. You know, I don't think people realize just how. I mean, they do realize, but like his bass playing, his entire career is. If you just studied Paul McCartney, you would have an entire encyclopedia of bass.
But he's
knowledge.
Another guy that we're talking about. He's just a creator.
Yeah, you're right. Well, like, he put out that Duos record a couple years ago, and it was like the Radiohead guys were on it, and like rappers were on it. And
he loves what he does.
Just likes making music.
He still shows up and loves it. That's inspiring.
We should all want to be like Paul McCartney.
We should all want to be like Paul McCartney. Be like Paul.
Well, Allie, thank you so much for making the trip out. where can people find you both in your support role and in your artist role?
The internet. Okay, sorry.
We have a little rainbow. Shooting star.
Yeah.
And then we cut.
Oh, was that the right? I mean, I think that's the only answer.
You can go find her yourself.
Am I supposed to say? Like,
No. I mean, if
Instagram handle?
if you want to plug anything,
okay.
feel free.
Okay. The internet feels honest, so I'm just gonna
Awesome.
stay with that.